Climate change has made its way to the forefront of international media and politics. We are witnessing a global response to a global problem. But climate change will also have local impacts that will require local, grassroots solutions. So today, we're talking about climate change and how it relates to the Saugeen-Bruce Peninsula. We're going to talk about why it matters, what you need to know, and what's being done. My name is Ryan Matheson, and welcome to the Bruce Peninsula Biosphere Association Climate Action video series. The Saugeen-Bruce Peninsula is not immune to the ill effects of a rapidly changing climate. Even though the burning of fossil fuels is causing climate change on a global scale, drastic changes in planetary systems like oceans, jet streams, and weather patterns will have real and serious local consequences for those of us here today, and even more so for those of us who are here tomorrow. Increasingly accurate climate models outline sobering projections for our area. Let's hear about some of the expected environmental, social, and economic impacts of climate change from some local experts.
Hi there, my name is Dr. Scott Parker. I'm an ecosystem scientist with Parks Canada. There are several things that concern me most. First, an increase in wildfire risk, particularly in the jack pine, spruce fir forests of the Northern Peninsula. Secondly, farming in the context of changing growing conditions and precipitation patterns, including summer drought and spring floods. Third, species conservation. It's clear that we and the other species that live here are about to face a new and unimagined and unprecedented challenge. Mean annual temperatures 3 to 4 degrees Celsius warmer, a slight increase in total precipitation by maybe 9%, more frequent and intense storms. Since a warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture, heavy precipitation events generally intensify by 7% for every degree of warming.
Next, we're going to hear from representatives from the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. Through Crown treaties and Indigenous law, San holds important rights and responsibilities over all of their traditional territory, including the Saugeen-Bruce Peninsula.
I'm a First Nation. I don't use my Christian name. I use Nipton. Member of Neoshingaming is where I live, and I belong to the Bear Clan. It saddens me that we as human beings have lost our responsibility to protect Mother Earth. All of us have. I have. And yet, one of the important things that I always need us to do is remember that we're all guilty. We only have one planet. Let's work together to get something done for the protection. Because when it's gone, we'll be gone.
Ani Mino Day Dishnakas Neoshingaming and Donjaba. My name is Mino Day, which translates to good heart. My English name is Emily. My role through the Environment Office is a lead environmental technician with the Coastal Waters Monitoring Program. We've only existed since 2019. We've seen a lot of changes in the water depths and the shoreline itself. As we're seeing more extreme lake levels and storms as a result of climate change, we're hoping that within the territory, people will start to look at alternatives to hardening their shoreline. So we're hoping that once we start to interpret our data, we'll be able to kind of pinpoint what changes we're seeing and how that relates to the fisheries.
Next, we're going to hear from Noreen Steinecker from the meeting place in Tobermory. We met with her to discuss the potential local economic impacts of climate change and also to discuss the importance of an equitable response.
My name is Noreen Steinecker. I'm a social worker and I'm the chair of the meeting place, Tobermory. We have two core services that I think relate to our conversation today. One of them is we connect people to resources. And the other thing we have is a pretty robust food security program. There's about 14% of people on the peninsula who are living with low income. Our community will be impacted by the cost of climate change in different ways for different populations. I think for the vulnerable population, it might be a gradual impact, but with a gradual impact, it's going to be harder for the rest of the community to see the increased financial burden. We have to look at climate change on an equitable basis. And so we have to look at the barriers around why some people are not going to be able to participate as much in the solutions, and also may have a larger impact on their lives. The climate change crisis will offer the community opportunities for, I think, some very positive responses. I think the sectors of the community may be forced to work together. I really believe in the community as a whole. So I think this issue is one that really requires total community commitment.
We've just heard some unique perspectives and concerns about climate change from within our community. So the next question is, what can we do about it? Next, we're going to hear from Mike Campbell. He's the chair of the Municipal Climate Action Committee, who are working on a community climate action plan.
My name is Mike Campbell. I'm the chair of the Climate Action Committee, which is a committee that was appointed by the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula in 2020 to develop a climate action plan for the community. Over the last 10 years or so, I've watched as the climate's changed with more and more concern as each year passes. I have children and grandchildren. It's always better from my perspective to try and take action to address issues as opposed to sitting back and feeling helpless. So that's really what motivates me. A community climate action plan looks at how the climate is changing. It comes up with strategies to adapt to that change, and it addresses the amount of greenhouse gases that are produced in our local community. The climate plan is important for the community because it empowers us to take action locally as it relates to climate change. The plan has 5 pillars. The first pillar is electrification. The second pillar is cutting consumption. The third pillar, wiping out waste. The fourth pillar is nurturing nature. The final pillar of the plan is adaptation. The committee is providing many opportunities for public input. We're really interested in hearing what you have to say. What comes next is we're going to have a series of meetings and webinars and surveys. We're going to produce some online resources for you to have an opportunity to contribute to the final plan that we're producing. We also need your support in other ways. There's going to be many discussions with decision makers in our community, and I think it's important that they hear your voices about how important climate change is. And most of all, we need your help to take action on the plan. We hope that the final plan will contain detailed, concrete actions that individuals in our community can identify with and take concrete steps to deal with how the climate's changing and how we adapt to it.
There are many perspectives we did not hear during this video. Youth, public health employees, farmers, tourism operators, homeowners, naturalists, and more. These are all sectors of our community that will be impacted by climate change and whose voices must be heard as we make a plan for the future. Is there something that you want to see in the Community Climate Action Plan? Let us know by commenting below or emailing us at climate.action@bpba.ca. So, is there something that you want to see in the Community Climate Action Plan?
It's clear that most people, over 90% of people, are prepared to have a constructive conversation about the science and need to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So let's establish some talking points as a framework to inform such discussions.
I'd like to see a plan for green retrofitting or renovating of homes that are landlord owned and tenants could benefit. I'd like also to see the community have a really important discussion on the basic income. And the basic income is something that Canadians have left on the periphery of discussion.
As human beings, we need to be of one mind, heart mind. But if we have different perspectives on how we're going to protect the land, then we can't go forward.